Hi everyone, I hope you're all okay. Um, I'm here to talk about the book that I've been reading for the past couple of weeks. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, craziness with work and, with my life at the moment. As you may have seen, as I've referred to in my other videos, that we had a family bereavement on New Year's Eve and we had the funeral and such last week. And yeah, it's been a crazy emotional couple of weeks. But I have really adored these past couple of weeks because of this book that I have been reading, and that is Take Courage, Anne Bronte and the Art of Life by Samantha Ellis. Now, in case you haven't come across this book, Samantha Ellis is a woman, she's a historian and such, and she has been an avid lover of Wuthering Heights since she was a teenager, like me. She appreciates Jane Eyre and everything, but she just, yeah, Wuthering Heights is her thing. And she never looked at Anne's work. She never kind of went there or anything. And one day she was doing a reading at the parsonage in Haworth where the Brontes lived, and one of the people who worked there asked if she wanted to see their archives while she was there, and presented Samantha with a letter, and she thought it was one of Emily's or possibly Charlotte's, and found it was one of Anne's, and she was absolutely blown away by what Anne was saying in this letter, and she got intrigued and she started following, trying to find out about Anne, and this book follows her path of finding who Anne was, and how she is a feminist icon, and trying to figure out why we don't consider her. Why do we regard her as the third Bronte? Why is she less celebrated than her sisters, given the absolute phenomenal things that she wrote? Now, as you guys would know from previous videos, now I read Anne's second novel, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, in November. It's kind of late November, early December, and fell absolutely in love with it. It was phenomenal novel. Really recommend it. So I kind of had the same sort of journey as Sam in regards to seeing something, having my eyes completely blown open to something that I always knew was there, but I never focused on it. And I am so gutted that I never focused on it. But I'm so happy that I have now, especially when I'm at this age, because I'm at the age that Anne was when she died, and that's crazy. That is absolutely mental. Well, actually, I'm a few years older, but still, around that age, I say, that is absolutely mental to me. So thinking about feminism now from my perspective at this age, and what a feminist icon she is, but nobody looks to her. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, the thing about this book is that Samantha, she's telling you Anne's story, but at the same time she's telling you her story. So it's very it's got a lot more to it. You get so much of Samantha's personality just bursting on the page, and it feels so warm and friendly, and it doesn't feel like you're learning a history lesson. Okay, so for example, this is a bit I actually read this out to my sister and our friend Sarah on Facebook Messenger the other night, and they said this was absolutely hilarious. That is, it's a brilliant bit. So this is chapter 7, which is all about Branwell. There are 10 chapters, and each chapter follows somebody who influenced Anne in some way, either for good or for bad. That's how it is. And this is Branwell's chapter, and she's talking about an episode of Most Haunted, which was filmed in 2005 at the Black Bull, which is the pub in Haworth that Branwell went to all the time. So here we go. I have watched the 2005 episode of Most Haunted that investigated the Black Bull. Shock-haired medium Derek Acorah has barely arrived before he's huffing and puffing and clutching at his chest, apparently because he's caught spectral tuberculosis. The program makers stress that Acorah has no idea why he has come to this particular pub, and this is where I start to lose faith, because Haworth is not shy about its Bronte connections. Even if Acorah missed all the signs of the Bronte village, surely he must have spotted the Bronte Balti house, the Wuthering Heights pub, the Villette coffee house, the Airs and Graces shop, and the block of retirement flats that are named after Heathcliff. Even out in the malls, there's a weathered wooden signpost of the Bronte waterfall and to top Withens in both English and Japanese. Can Acorah really have no clue which famous tubercular ghost might be haunting the Black Bull? Now he says that he can see a small man with pointed features and red hair who likes to drink. Asking the spirit for his name, he mutters it sounds like Bradwell. Bradwell? Bradwell? And finally he's got it. Branwell, he says, putting all the stress in the wrong place. Presumably, it's hard to get an exact pronunciation when the name is coming through from the other side. The programme speculates that Branwell haunts the pub because he was a broken man who could not let go of Emily stealing his novel Wuthering Heights. Yawn. So to have something like that, rather than having a biography that's saying this happened, then this happened, and that happened, and they felt like this, and they felt like that, it's so much more personal. It really brings a new perspective and quite a lightness to a subject, a historical subject that I really liked, and I totally got where Samantha was coming from with certain things, and she reads like passages of things that Charlotte did, because I don't think Samantha should say really liked Charlotte, really. She likes her, but at the same time it's like, because Charlotte loved to be in control and everything, and to the degree that they had reviews done on their novels, and there were some reviewers that were really nasty about them, and especially to Charlotte's book Jane Eyre. And to the degree that when Anne died and their publishers said, right, we want to bring out a new edition of The Tenant Wildfell Hall and everything to, because she's passed and everything, will you let us do that? Charlotte flat out refused and said that there could be no new edition of Anne's work until she dies. And it was like, what? That is insane for her to say that. Now, of course, it was only about 5 years in total, but still, because of that gap, just those 5 years, Anne has gone from being the one who who sold out her book within 6 weeks, which beat both of her sisters, to being the one who everybody forgets exists, and is least celebrated, and that is so sad. There's a great bit that Samantha does, where she makes a comparison to modern day, the equivalent of this losing of Anne in her position, as it were, and it says, because of Charlotte, Anne is seen as the third Beatle. Emily is the wayward genius Lennon. Charlotte is McCarthy, talented but controlling. And everyone forgets that George Harrison wrote Here Comes the Sun. But at least the song still has pride of place on Abbey Road. For many years, Anne's best novel was nearly impossible to get hold of, little known, as Gaskell wrote in 1857. And anyone who wondered why could read Charlotte's harsh verdict. Charlotte, more than anyone, is responsible for Anne being seen as the other Bronte. So when it comes to Samantha exploring all of these different elements of Anne and her family, she talks about all the trips that she goes on, the bus journeys, the people she sees, the tourists, her questioning things, and also looks to her own life and things that are happening in her life, with having a relationship that turns into moving in with her boyfriend, which turns into her getting married and everything, and how she feels about that shift in her life, and thinking how Anne also had these various shifts in her life, and how she feels as this woman, Samantha, being um, a woman who was in her early 40s. She was happy with her life and everything. She didn't feel that she needed to be in a relationship and that, and she loved her life. And then having this shift happen, and how she felt about it. It's really hard. I know I probably haven't said that very well. I'm sorry, Samantha, if I've completely botched up what I was trying to say. But I love that as well, because as I'm a woman in her 30s. I live alone, and the thought of somebody entering my life and then moving in with me would be so weird. It would really take me a lot of time to try and figure out how the hell that I could make that work, because I'm so used to being independent. And it would just be so odd. So I love that part, especially where Samantha's trying to explain how she feels about the shift, that it's so wonderful, but at the same time it's so odd and it's quite scary, this thing happening. And how what would Anne think of this happening? But I adore how she paints the world, Anne's world, how she paints all of the different family members. Okay, yes, she is critical of like Charlotte and the things that she's done, because we've got the written evidence of things that she did, things that she said in letters and everything. But at the same time, she doesn't say, oh, she was a nasty, horrible cow and all that. She just says, Charlotte was like this, she wrote this, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? That's how she goes through all of these bits of evidence. I especially adored the last chapter, which is dedicated to Anne's death. And it feels somber going into it, and you can feel Samantha's emotion in her writing. And she really moved me to tears. I was really moved by this. But I have to say, this is one of like the best biographies of anyone that I've read in a long time, and having that extra personal factor really helped. The title, Take Courage, I thought, when I first saw that, I thought, my God, that is a really interesting title. And especially, as feminism and icons, like, yeah, take courage, do what you need to do, yeah. And then I realised what that meant in the last chapter. It was like, oh, Samantha, you are like stabbing me through the heart right now. That is the most perfect title for this book, as it means so many things. But there's that specific part in the last chapter that's going to stick with me for quite a while. That really is. I cannot recommend enough this book. This please read this book. Even if you're a fan of Brontes, if you're not a fan of the Brontes, if you're a fan of Anne, if you're not a fan of Anne, I think this is a really genuinely great way to write a biography, to be able to connect past to present, to give for authors of biographies and also in just like historical stuff, to give their opinions, to put modern perspectives on the past. Sometimes when authors do that, they can take it like a bit too far and such. But the way this is done, like I said, she doesn't say, oh, Charlotte was this, that, and the other, bad mouth Charlotte, but she goes, Charlotte, what are you doing in this letter? Why would you do that? She just questions things like that, which is really interesting. And the last page of this book is fabulous, and I'm not going to read it because I was tempted to read it, but I'm not going to, because I think you have to get through this book and just read that and that page. I was like, by the end of it, I was in tears, I was clapping, I was like, yes, I think Anne would be so proud of this book. She'd be so proud of what you just wrote, Samantha. But the last bit I want to read is the very last couple of lines, because it's just wonderful. And she says, maybe you could be forgotten and then remembered again. Maybe. Every year someone sends flowers to the parsonage on Anne's birthday. They've never said who they are, and this year I'm sending flowers too. That is just, I was practically squealing. I loved that ending. This was like the perfect book for me, because how I discovered Anne's writing, how, you know, I've always had a great love for Wuthering Heights since I was about 15. It took me straight into that world. It kept me in the modern day. It made me look at things in a way that I hadn't looked before. It made me understand a woman who I was just like other people were thinking, oh, she's the other one. I kind of ignored it. I shoved her in a corner, and I want to apologise to Anne Bronte for doing that. I feel so guilty for doing that, but I'm so glad that I am acknowledging her now, that I have read The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, that I have recognised what an amazing woman she was, an amazing poetess as well. Her poetry is stunning. I'm so in awe of this woman. I am so thankful to Samantha Ellis for writing this absolutely wonderful book. Please, if you're able to go out and buy this book, do read it and enjoy. Okay, so if you want to, of course, explore the various things of Anne's writing, there's only really one adaptation available of The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, which is the BBC version, which is absolutely fantastic. And Samantha analyses the casting of this drama, and it's absolutely brilliant in that bit of the book. I was like, oh, delighted when I came across that bit. It's absolutely brilliant. It's the only adaptation, a drama of The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. My sister and I spoke about this in our video about the Brontes. If you want to see that, I'll put a link in the description. And it's absolutely fantastic. I really loved it. And also for the lives of the Bronte sisters, the drama, I'm sure you're probably bored of me saying it, but the drama that I absolutely adored and was on, I think it's a couple of years ago now, is To Walk Invisible. And there's Anne there, and that's Emily, and that's Charlotte. This was absolutely fantastic, written by Sally Wainwright, telling the story of the 3 years in which the girls wrote their novels, went to fame, and how there was the great shifts that happened in their lives, and what it was like to live in Haworth at that time and everything. It's absolutely fabulous, this. So I strongly recommend these two, and of course I very strongly recommend Take Courage by Samantha Ellis. I'm really interested in looking up her other books now. I'd really be intrigued to read the rest of Samantha's works. I'm really looking forward to seeing what she produces next. Alright then guys, I think that's all I can think of today. I'm going to be back in a separate video, of course, to announce what's the next, what book I'm going to be reading next. As it's still January, it's my pick, and I'm really excited about the book I've picked, but you'll have to see the other video to find out what I've picked. Alright then guys, bye!